The Trump campaign was pretty thrilled this week when Project 2025 director Paul Dans announced that he was stepping down from the initiative. Project 2025 has been a collaboration by the Heritage Foundation that involved a constellation of over 100 different conservative organizations to lay out a blueprint for a future Republican administration. And they've released what is basically a 900-page book laying out in very granular detail plans for a deep conservative reform and overhaul of the federal government. And this includes kind of a database of sorts of potential staffing options for a future presidential administration, as well as different recommendations on executive actions that a Republican president could take. But Democrats have really jumped on this and used it as a boogeyman of sorts against Trump. And this has really alienated the Trump campaign because they feel that they have to answer for something that isn't really theirs. And a key factor here, of course, is that, in this election cycle, Trump is a very, very well-known figure. We've been through the 2016 campaign, the 2020 campaign. He has been in the public eye for decades. And so that makes public research against him really tricky and kind of stale sometimes because the public is just so familiar with him and his various controversies. But Project 2025 and now, his vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance, has given, the Opera research teams some fresh material to talk about that, a lot of people in the public don't really know about. So that's kind of something that can be used as a cudgel against him. A lot of people involved in Project 2025 were tied to the Trump administration. Dans, for example, was the chief of staff for the Office of Personnel Management under Trump. Heritage said that now that Dans is stepping down, he will be moving on to new projects and that Project 2025 will carry on without him. A lot of Trump people were kind of cheering and felt that maybe this indicates a demise of sorts of Project 2025, but the Heritage Foundation is saying that that's not really the case. It's still going to continue, at least for the time being. It doesn't really appear that Trump has a robust transition plan in place should he win the 2024 race. Back in 2016, we heard that he was frustrated by rules requiring top presidential contenders to develop transition plans because he felt that it was bad karma. And so ultimately he kind of gave that responsibility to Chris Christie, who at the time was a bit of an ally. Now, of course, he's not. Christie's plan was largely tossed out due to beef that he had with the Kushners. So Trump kind of basically winged a lot of his staffing and stuff early on when he first got elected president. And right now, we're not seeing a lot of evidence of a robust transition plan in place. So the point that a lot of Democrats and a lot of critics have made is that Trump will likely need to lean in a bit on some of the Project 2025 stuff to make up for that if he were to win. Some high-level Trump people had suggested that they might want to ban some members of the Project 2025 initiative because they feel that this is given them so many political headaches. So we'll see what happens here, but this is a pretty significant development with Dans stepping down. We expect these attacks against Trump based on Project 2025 from the Democrats to continue despite a leadership shakeup there.